Yo, what's poppin', guys? Sizzle here, and in this video, I'll be going over all of the Marvel Rivals heroes to explain which are the best to be playing in solo queue, what the strongest solo queue heroes are. As for why I'm qualified to talk about this, I installed this game like last month, and I went from Bronze to Celestial 1 completely solo queued, and then I duo queued from Celestial 1 to Eternity. So I'm an Eternity player that solo queued most of the way up. So I know what I'm talking about, I know what characters are strong, at least as of Season 1.5's current balance. So first off, we have Adam Warlock, easy S tier, not even close. His team up is ridiculous. I'm kind of giving a bit of a spoiler here, but Mantis and Star-Lord are both also really strong heroes, even without the team up. But the team up that gives him and possibly two other people on his team a completely free revive every like 2 minutes is crazy strong. If you learn how to use his ultimate well, which I honestly still don't know how to do, but whenever you have a good Adam on your team and he ults at the right time, it can literally turn around entire fights. You just get 4 or 5 quick reses for free, and just, it becomes from a 2v6 to now a 6v6, or like a 2v4 to now a 6v4. It's crazy how much value you can get with that. His healing output is actually also insane. I feel like people don't recognize just how much heals Adam Warlock actually brings to the table. A lot of people treat him like he literally doesn't heal people, and it's just not even remotely true. He does crazy healing numbers. And as long as you have some type of main support, like a Cloak and Dagger, or like even like a Rocket or something, I've won tons of games as like Adam Warlock Rocket as a backline, right? As long as you got 2 supports and a tank in front, you're generally fine. He does more than enough healing, especially on tanks. His Soul Bond can completely deny any ult. His damage output is criminally insane. You can get like 2 or 3 kills a fight if your aim's good enough. It's ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, he's just super strong after that recent damage buff at the start of the season. Speaking of strong, that's not what Black Panther is. He's definitely a D tier pick. Not F tier. F tier means if you pick this character, you're actually the reason you're losing, no matter how good you are at the game. And D tier, you can make it work. And almost every character in Marvel Rivals, there are literally 2 characters, as far as I can remember, that you instantly lose if you have on your team. Every other character, even if they're really hard to win with, like Black Panther here, you can win with. And Black Panther's problem is there's a lot of sustain in the game right now, lots of triple support, and lots of the Thing. And the Thing hard counters Black Panther, where if he charges anywhere, it denies Black Panther. Because if Black Panther tries to dash through the Thing's little earthquake area, it stops his dash and then traps him there. And he has like no health to speak of, so he just dies instantly anytime the Thing is on screen. And even when the Thing's not on screen, the supports can just heal each other, and he can't kill them. That's the reason people call him the Tickle Monster. He can't get any kills. He can't get any finishes solo. If you're solo queue and you're diving in alone, there's just no way you're going to get enough kills to make this character worth playing most of the time. But if all the stars align and your team is hard dive, you have like a Venom Spider-Man, and you're going in, you're calming in voice chat with them, this character can work. If you dive all at the exact same time and all together, his crazy quick damage, a quick burst of damage, dashing through teams and shit, combined with like Venom and Spider-Man stuff, can actually work and can be very disgusting if the comms are there. But solo queue, the comms are almost never there. Next up, we have Black Widow. I'd say C tier. If you have really good aim, you can make her disgusting. But she's also pretty easy to counterpick if you just have one Psylocke player or like a Jeff or something, and you can just harass her. No matter how much support she gets, she's pretty easy to take out. The problem is if she's a good team around her, which only really happens in high elo, like high Celestial Eternity. She has like a Mantis on her and things like that. Her damage output becomes insane, and she becomes a very, very hard to stop. But if you just go like hard dive on her, there's not much you can do about like a Venom Spider-Man duo jumping her ass. So if you just counterpick her, she's often forced to swap. And if you don't swap when you're up against hard dive, there's no there's no winning there, right? No matter how good your aim is, the character just cannot get away. Her mobility's not that crazy. So yeah, that's kind of her thing. If she's left uncountered and your aim is disgusting, you will win for free, and there's nothing the enemy team can do about it. But a lot of the time, it's super easy to just counterpick her. Have one person on your team swap, even if that one person's you. If you're fighting an enemy Black Widow and you're in DPS, just go like Psylocke real quick and deal with her and make her swap, and then you can go back to what you were doing. It's pretty easy to do. Speaking of pretty easy to do, that is not Captain America. He's a very, very hard character to play, and can't carry super hard in low elo, I feel. I feel like anytime I did Captain America, all the way until Eternity. At Eternity, at Celestial 1, when I did Captain America, he's a very good character there. He's very disgustingly strong. But up until there, the big problem with Captain America is he has no real solo kill potential. He's a very hard time securing kills completely by himself. And in order to be a good solo queue pick, you need to be able to get kills or sustain people all by yourself, right? You cannot be relying on teammates to do literally anything. And Captain America relies a lot on his team being decent. They don't have to be amazing, but if they're decent, right? If the enemy team has to divert even half of their team to look at your team, that's good value for you. Because what you do in Captain America is you run around the back line, never die. If they stop looking at you, you start killing their supports. And if the supports don't turn around, they just die. If their team turns around to fight you, then your team walks in and gets the kill for free. But that requires a lot of good engage timing. It requires your team to understand that they're all looking at you as Captain America and that they should go in right now and get big kills. But up until high elo, that just won't happen. And you'll just be living forever in their backline while nothing is dying. And your whole team is just slowly dying in the front line because you just can't kill things as Captain America in the back line. So unfortunately, solo queue, he's a very, very weak. And even up in higher ranks, even like duo or trio queue, there's just a lot of characters that are way easier to play that get way more value, especially with the Thing. The Thing kind of hit Captain America quite hard because it's like the first character as Captain America that you actually have to like fear. He's the only real character that can maybe get you killed as Captain America, but even then, a good cap will still avoid it and still be disgusting on the character. Speaking of disgusting on the character, that's just not something you can beat with Cloak and Dagger, but that's actually what makes her B tier. Cloak and Dagger is a character that you literally cannot mess up. As long as you are left clicking and shooting forward in your little, cloak healing form, your healing output will be good. Right, your cloak heals are solid. She's very solid primary fire healing. She has that healing curtain thing that also is good healing, and then that little like healing bubble thing that does even more healing. Her ultimate is your standard support ultimate that makes everyone invincible for like, I don't know, 8 to 10 seconds. It's very, very strong. Problem is, of course, with hers is Magnetos have trained their whole lives to be able to stop you from ulting, so you have to be careful of that. But your Magneto should also have trained their whole life to bubble you, so that doesn't matter. But if they don't have Magneto, oftentimes you just get off the support ult for free. It's definitely one of the weaker support ults in that it's easier to kill the Cloak and Dagger with the ult active, right? For example, if you're like Wolverine and the ult is like ended, like she does all her dashes, you can just jump her and pull her out of her ult and then just kill her outside of her ult and it'll stop the ult entirely. That's a very interesting thing in this game where if you kill the support ult stops, and Cloak and Dagger is definitely the easiest to kill after her like immortality ult. But on the whole, I mean, the cloak can be kind of useful as well. You get that little like Discord orb curtain, which can get you a lot of different kills. You can cloak important ults like Chef ult, Iron Man ult, things like that. You can literally just right click to stop them for free. There's nothing you can do about it. The problem with Cloak and Dagger though is she has like no carry potential. She just can't mess up, right? You will always do solid healing. She's very, very, very easy to play. The only thing you can really do well on Cloak and Dagger is ult at the right time, and then hope your team kind of figures it out from there. So the reason she's a B tier pick is you won't be the reason your team loses pretty much ever, right? Unless you have like 4 supports or some weird shit going on. If you're Cloak and Dagger, you will not be the reason your team lost, but at the same time, you'll almost never be the reason your team won, right? The way that you win with Cloak and Dagger is by not being bad, just inherently by being very easy to play, which makes you win games because you're getting more value than you probably should be, which makes you just rank up for free. Speaking of rank up for free, that's something you can do with Doctor Strange. Debatably the best tank, right? His portals are disgusting. You can get so many free flanks, you can get so many times where it's overtime, and you can't touch the point without a Strange portal, but with the Strange portal, you're on point with your whole team, and you can turn that entire fight around. His little, like gamma burst, or whatever you want to call it, right? Whenever he presses E and releases his aura, that thing can get so many kills so easily. His ult easily, and if they don't have a support ult up, easily gets 3 or 4 kills every single time. And especially if you have a Hulk on your team, even if they support ult, if you have a Hulk on your team, you can still ult them in the support ult. And if you press your E with a Hulk with your ult as their souls are out of their bodies, it will one-shot them, which is crazy. It's a crazy, crazy team up. It's still super, super strong, even after all the changes and nerfs and things like that. The base character also just crazy. His flight is super good for helping him live, helping him deal with flyers. He just has an answer to like everything. His shield is also a solid amount of health, solid amount of blocking for his team. but he's definitely a lot more of an offensive character than a lot of people recognize, right? A lot of people in low elo use Doctor Strange like a shield bot, right? They hold a right click, and then when it's done, they fly up to get away, and you kind of leave it at that. But he has so many animation cancels. You can use his primary fire into his shield. You can primary fire into melee, primary melee, and just crazy damage, crazy quick. Farm up his little aura burst, and then aura burst the entire enemy team and kill them even without ult up. You can just do so much crazy damage output while also being a very solid frontline tank with a lot of damage denial capabilities. That he just kind of does it all. He's a very hard carry character, and if you're good at Doctor Strange, it's very hard to lose a lot of games. Speaking of very hard to lose a lot of games, if you're good at the character, we got Groot. If you're a good Groot and Wolverine is banned, you pretty much just win. Like, it's impossible without Wolverine to stop him. He has a lot of health. His walls give him a lot of health, a lot of escape options. His walls can deny tons of different ults if you know all the Groot tech. For example, if you place a Groot wall at the right place, you can deny a Namor ult and things like that. You can block enemy support ults like a Cloak and Dagger. You can physically block them from going somewhere you don't want them to go. His walls have crazy health, he has crazy damage, crazy combos that he can do with his walls, and his ult is one of the very few ults that just, with no team up, no nothing, can straight up kill through support ults, which is super strong. This character can just do it all. If you're a good Groot, you will win damn near every game that Wolverine is banned. If Wolverine isn't banned, there's nothing you can do about it. He's a hard counter. He will just jump you, pull you into the enemy team, and you'll instantly die. There's no counterplay, you're forced to swap off Groot. But other than that, man, his damage output, his health, his everything is so crazy. He's being played in all of pro play right now whenever he's not banned, and most of the time he's not banned. And it's for good reason. He just has crazy damage blocking, damage capabilities, and his ult is also ridiculously strong. Speaking of ridiculously strong, Hawkeye really isn't that strong, but he's very solid. He's easily an A tier pick. I mean, he can one-shot headshot. That's just very strong in any context. If your aim is good with him, your positioning's okay, and your team's not getting completely steamrolled by dive, or even if they are, you just have really good aim, you can just consistently get picks fight after fight after fight. His ult is also way stronger now, because I think they buffed him, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, good Hawkeye will just be one-shotting everyone left and right, especially like a Mantis or whatever. You can even start body-shotting people and doing crazy damage. He just does crazy burst damage, right? That's his whole thing. If you can just get one-shot kill every single fight, you win every single game. If your aim's not good enough for it, your positioning is not good enough for it, whatever it might be, maybe that won't happen, but you can just carry so easily on this character if your aim is remotely decent. It's kind of nasty if it wasn't for Hela, who is way more nasty. If your aim is solid, Hela is the hard carry pick. They're the lobby admin. Even now, even with every other character getting some type of buff or nerf or whatever, Hela for some reason got buffed further. She was the strongest character, she got stronger. If your aim is really good, she does it all. The problem with Hela compared to like stuff like Hawkeye or pretty much any other character is if your aim isn't cracked, she does nothing. Like literally nothing. If you're not hitting your shots on Hela, she does not have any free damage abilities, right? All of her value is depending on you hitting shots. And if you're not hitting shots, you are literally doing nothing. And if your aim is shit, I would put her D tier. But if your aim is good, really good, you win every game for free. If your aim is alright, I'd actually probably stick to Hawkeye. He requires a little bit less of you. You can definitely get more value just kind of spamming down main and whiffing a few shots here and there compared to Hela, who's very reliant on quick burst kills that will require you to just hit a lot of shots back to back. Next up, we have the Hulk. I'd say he's C tier. He requires very specific team comps to work. If you have a strange player and you play Hulk, it's a lot of time pretty free value, but even then, sometimes if they have the right stuff, they have like a Punisher, a Wolverine, or something like that, you just cannot play Hulk into it. There's a lot of comps that he has a hard time working into, unlike Strange, who even without his team up, can just do it all. Hulk is definitely just a solid dive tank, but nothing super crazy, and has a hard time getting in on a lot of different places. Hard time finishing off stuff, especially triple support, which we see all the time now. He just can't do anything about triple support. It's kind of really annoying. Without a lot of follow-up from his team, which solo queue you will not get. You will also not get two tanks most of the time solo queued, and solo tank Hulk is very hard to make work. I've only seen it work like once or twice in high elo. And low elo you can make anything work, as long as you got one tank, two supports, all the way up till Eternal, honestly. You can win with one tank, two supports of any variety. Might be harder though if it's Hulk, because he just has a hard time solo tanking and requires quite a particular kind of team comp built around him to succeed. But if you give him that environment, he can do a lot. which is something Flame Guy almost never does. I don't actually know this guy's proper name. I just call him Flame Guy, and everyone knows what I'm talking about. But he has like a one-shot combo that you can do occasionally that good guys know how to do. But most of the time, when I see this character, he's flying at 0 speed at all, super easy to shoot out of the sky because he has 0 mobility, and he's doing no damage because he's 400 miles up in the sky, just way away from everything. It just doesn't. I can literally just ignore him and we win because he's not doing anything for his team at all. Like 0 value in any context, which is it's just not great. If you're really good at the character, you're probably just better at something else like Storm or Iron Man or some shit. Like he doesn't do a lot of damage for how easy he is to kill. He just flies way too slow. His mobility is way too slow. But I don't know if I want that to change. I feel like if he was good, he'd be really obnoxious because he has a lot of good area of denial and stuff. And he does have that one-shot combo, which is kind of annoying sometimes, occasionally, if you forget about it. But yeah, speaking of annoying, we got Invisible Woman, who's just the best support probably right now, other than Adam Warlock. I think Adam Warlock's actually the best support at the moment with that damage buff recently. But she's a very, very solid second place. She has the best support ult in the game. It both heals people for crazy amounts, lasts for a long time, has a big area of effect, but it also makes people invisible, which in a low elo, all the way up to Celestial, people don't know how to react when they can't see their team. It makes it very hard to play the game if you don't really understand the game that well, and that on its own is super strong. She has the highest healing output, I think, in the entire game, just outright. At least healing where it matters, because you can do higher heals on other characters over time, but her burst healing capabilities are insane. She's like 15 different healing things. She has her like double jump invisibility escape tool that makes it almost impossible to kill her. And then also she has her pull and push, which a good Invisible Woman, generally for me, I can tell based on how they use their pull and their push. Anytime I have a good Invisible Woman on my team and they have that ability, I just notice ult's getting denied, right? Doctor Strange, he goes into fly down and ult, he just gets pushed away, right? They have someone on high ground that's really annoying, they get pulled directly into my team. Just so much free carry potential in that for environmental kills, for pulling people off high ground, denying ults, everything like that. She just does it all, right? She's solid damage output, crazy heals, a crazy good ult, crazy good kind of escape tools, and then the pull and push is just the icing on the cake that lets her do literally everything. Unlike Iron Fist, who does just nothing. I mean, this character, before the Season 1.5 changes, I'd say he's a solid B tier, where he was actually pretty good. A lot of people thought he was bad, but I felt like he was in a very good place balance-wise, and could kind of do a lot, but not everything. Now, he's just a budget Wolverine, where he can't kill squishies, like, at all. If they get any amount of healing, he literally does nothing, just dies. And he can't kill tanks that quickly. He can kill them faster than he used to be able to, but he used to have the problem where he couldn't kill tanks and he could only kill squishies. Now he's the problem where he can only kill tanks and can't kill squishies. And there's way more squishies, way more DPS and supports in the game than there are tanks in any game, in any lobby, just no matter what. So he just kind of doesn't get a lot of value a lot of the time and just can't do a lot of damage and can't really do anything at the moment. So hopefully they revert those changes and make him more playable and more fun again. Next up, though, we have Iron Man. Pretty solid. The thing with Iron Man is he's pretty easy to counter. If you have a good Hela, you have a good Hawkeye, anyone who can just kind of shoot him out of the sky, his mobility is not that crazy. It's pretty easy to track him and burst him out of the sky. But if you're playing into no counters, right, if for some reason they're running like Magic, Black Panther or something, and you're just up there in the sky holding out your beam, or if you have like a Hulk on your team holding out that beam, I mean, that beam does crazy quick damage for quite a lot of time. It makes him very vulnerable, which is why he's so easy to kill if you have any amount of counters. It's kind of his biggest problem, is when people have decent aim and they're looking at you, you're super, super easy to kill up in the air. But that beam damage can just shred teams. And then also his ult is pretty strong. It's like it's one of very few ults that can straight up kill through support ults, which is also something I think I forgot to mention in Groot. He can just kill through support ults with the right combos and the right skills and stuff like that. That's part of what makes him strong. Iron Man just has to shoot directly at them. If they don't have like a Magneto or the Doctor Strange or something ready to block it, you just stop support ults instantly and deny them and get free kills, oftentimes more than one. It's a pretty good ult, but also very slow, and if you have a Magneto, it's very easy to stop. So that's definitely a very interesting character. High, insane damage and kill potential with any amount of counterplay. Kind of like Widow, but like on the opposite end of the spectrum. Right? But it requires people to dive her. Iron Man requires people to just shoot him. It's a bit easier to actually deal with a good Iron Man than a good Widow. But yeah, next up we have Jeff. I'd say A tier. His flanking potential, his damage output, his self-sustain, he's just like raw potential is insane. Right, all you have to do on Jeff is flank the enemy team, and when you're flanking, if they look at you, now they're all looking at you, get that Captain America value, they're all looking at you, your team can now get free kills because they're all turned around to fight you, and if for some reason they're stupid enough not to turn around and fight you, you just get kills. Your damage output is not crazy high, but it's high enough that if they don't look at you for like a second, you can just kill a support or a DPS for free. His ult is also very strong. A lot of time it will get either maybe 2 or 3 picks every single fight, as long as your team helps you kind of get to a cliff or get to your spawn door. If you didn't know on Jeff, you can actually go back into spawn when after you ult, and it'll insta-kill enemy team, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, very, very strong flanker. His self-sustain is crazy. His healing output is alright. You should not play him to heal your team, though. You should be playing him to flank. His flanking value is his big value. That's what makes him ridiculous, because if nobody turns to fight you, you kill everyone. And if people turn to fight you, you just run away, don't die, and then your team kills everyone. It's impossible to not do well in the character, and it makes him very, very strong. The problem is, though, a lot of people, especially in the lower ranks, assume that you're going to be healing on him for some reason. So they'll assume that he's your second support, and that you have 2 supports, and that you're good to go, and will then complain about not getting healed and throw your games, which is really weird behavior, but it makes it very hard to win on him a lot of the time, even though the games are so free otherwise. Speaking of so free, Loki is so free. He has the best ult in the game because it's any ult. Whatever the best ult is in the lobby is now his ult. He just takes it. It's his, right? If it's a Star-Lord ult, makes sense. If Invisible ult makes sense. Whatever ult he might need, he can just take. He also has a built-in immortality as a cooldown ability with his totems. They are crazy, crazy, crazy value. He does crazy healing output with his clones up, and it's just oftentimes not even worth breaking his clones. He can put them on really high places. Every shot, if all of his clones are up, will heal or damage for 100, which is pretty solid for how quick he can shoot those things. He can just very quickly kill enemies. He can go on crazy flanks with his invisibility and do crazy damage that way. The clones let you do so much, get away with so much free value. It's so hard to kill you. And his ult is ridiculous too. I mean, he just does it all. He has built-in immortality, crazy healing, crazy damage. Going fully invisible is such a nice escape tool. Even having clones, you can kind of use them to come back into fights quicker, like a mobility tool. So he's like built-in mobility as well. I mean, he just does it all. He's a crazy character, crazy heals, crazy damage. The immorts are insane. The ults are ridiculous. Anytime I have a Loki on my team, I win. Anytime the enemy team is a Loki and I don't, I oftentimes lose. It's very hard to fight this character. He's a very hard answer to pretty much anything, because he just has an immortality with his totems. It's ridiculous how much he can just get away with for free. Speaking of getting away with for free, we have Luna Snow, also S tier. She's built-in mobility with a little ice skating thing that helps her get back to point faster, which is just super nice. She has a built-in stun that will just stun people for like 2 seconds or whatever, which oftentimes is enough to just straight up kill them. Just stops flankers from flanking her if you're good enough with it. Her healing output and damage output is nothing super crazy, but it's definitely solid. And her ult is insane, right? It is, I think, the longest lasting support ult now. It has the problem, of course, of range, but if your team's remotely good, they'll stand by you when you're dancing. It also enables a ton of different one-shot combos. For example, with Namor, if Namor ults and then Luna Snow goes onto damage mode, because she can swap between amping damage and amping heals. If she goes to damage mode for even a frame while Namor is ulting, it literally one-shots people, which is ridiculous, and that's not the only one-shot, that's just the one most people know about. She also has a team-up with both Jeff and Namor, who are both very strong characters, and the team-ups make them way stronger, right? Jeff goes from taking like 5 shots to kill people to like 3, and his shots are faster, so they're like easier to hit, plus they slow people. Namor gets a extra squid, which makes it so he always has a squid up at all times, plus the extra squid has bonus health and slows people. Her team-ups are ridiculous, the base character is already very strong. Even without the team-ups, I'd debatably put her in S tier. I'd probably actually put her in A tier without the team-ups, but with the team-ups, if those characters aren't banned, which oftentimes Namor is banned, that's kind of the better of the 2 team-ups for sure. But if Namor is banned, probably A tier. Still very solid, very easy carry potential, especially if you have anything else that you know a one-shot combo for, then she becomes S tier again. But with the team up, she's just S tier. If Namor and Luna Snow are playable, you just play them together, you instantly win. It's so easy to do. Speaking of easy to do, playing Magic is not. But she's still an A tier solo carry potential character. She has like 15 different one-shot combos, and one-shotting people is just very strong. Magic can do it way easier than most other characters, it feels like. The problem with Magic, though, and why she's not S tier, is if people focus you, right? If they have like a thing chasing you down, he's really the hardest counter to her. Or just a lot of people focus firing you, it can be super hard to get in. And because you're solo queue, your teammates might be bad enough that they can literally focus you the entire game and just win. I'd actually probably put her in B tier compared to like Hawkeye, because Hawkeye just, there's nothing they can do. If you want to one-shot someone and you're aiming correctly, there's no counterplay. Versus Magic, you can be like Adam Warlock and just press Soul Bond and counter Magic or Spider-Man or anything diving you. The Thing can stop you. There's a lot of things that stop you on Magic because you have to get up close and personal. But if people don't look at you on Magic and you have all your one-shot combos down and stuff, I mean, this is like one of the hardest carry characters in the game, which is the amount of like people you can just shred through even without ult. And then her ult is also very strong, gives her tons of sustain because she can just mash her like little fade thingy and then just do crazy amounts of damage that way, especially if you really know what you're doing. But she requires a lot of knowledge and doesn't get as much payback as characters like Hawkeye, which don't really require you to learn a lot, you just have to aim well. Next up we have Magneto, easily S tier. I mean, he's not as strong as Strange offensively, but defensively he's the best tank in the goddamn game. He has a bubble, he has a shield, he has solid health, he has a right click that he can pretty much spam out that does both solid damage, stuns, and does knockback. His ultimate is one of very few ultimates. I've talked about like 20 things that can, you know, kill supports when they're ulting. One of very few ultimates that can kill supports quite easily when they're ulting. Right? If Invisible Woman, Cloak, anyone like that pops an ult, you just come up with Magneto's meatball and you can just one-shot him. Right, they're good Magneto, you really practice that, you get that down. You can deny so many things or enable so many things with your bubble. Right, if you have like a Star-Lord that wants to go in and ult, you just give him a bubble. If you have, I don't know, just any character, people, the Magic that wants to go in, a Wolverine that wants to go in, any character that wants to do anything, you can just bubble them and they're like protected for like 2 seconds and there's really nothing the enemy can do about it. His shield has infinite damage blocking, which can be very, very strong. Both of those abilities can deny any number of ults. His meatball denies even more ults. He's all about denying the enemy while doing very, very solid damage from the backline. He's also good all the time. He's the best solo tank in the game, probably. Maybe behind Groot. I think Groot could be a better solo tank. There's an argument to be made for that. But he's either the best or second best solo tank in the game. He's good with 2 tanks. He's good with 3 tanks. He's just always a good pick against every single team comp. There is no character that hard counters him. Even Wolverine, which counters pretty much every tank other than the Thing, is pretty neutral against Magneto, because when you get dropped in, or maybe right before he leaps to get you, you can actually bubble to deny the Wolverine from leaping with you, which is super strong, or you can bubble and shield as you're walking out to live even after getting leaped. It's just, he just does it all. He has an answer to everything. He's very solid into everything. He doesn't have the raw damage output and kill potential of Doctor Strange, but he has way more defensive capabilities, which kind of like evens out between the two of them, makes them both very, very solid tank picks. Speaking of very, very solid picks, we have Mantis, easily S tier. A lot of people sleep on this character just because no one plays her, and anyone that plays her is already in Eternal, because that character is ridiculous. She has the highest pick rate in high elo, and the highest win rate at the exact same time. Her team up with Adam Warlock, who's currently a very, very strong hero, is absurd. Just a free res every 2 minutes or whatever for nothing on your end. Her sleeps can be fight winning. They can stop ults. They can get you free kills. It's pretty easy to hit. It's kind of crazy. But her main value is in her damage boost. She can just damage boost anyone. She can damage boost herself. She can damage boost her teammates. Her damage output is very solid. If you damage boost like a Hawkeye, a Magic, a Bucky, a Hulk, a Thing, a Strange, anything you damage boost will get crazy value. She enables people like Widow to play the game because I think she can one-shot with damage boost. I might be wrong on that. She fully charged headshots or whatever. I think she can one-shot. It's just crazy. The damage boosts are very strong. The mobility, and when she's in full health, she runs fast, which is really crazy mobility. The sleeps are big value. And then her ult is interesting, where it's definitely from the weaker sides of purely defensive support ults, right? So stuff like Invisible Woman ult will just keep everyone immortal as long as Invisible Woman doesn't die. Mantis will pretty much do that, but for a little bit less time. And also, she has a weird thing where when she's ulting, she can still attack and still do damage and help her team kind of do damage and attack a bit more. She does keep her team up generally. Whenever she ults, it's pretty much an immortality, but for whatever reason, it feels like it sustains a little bit less than other ults. I think it heals a little bit less than other ults like Luna or Invisible Woman, but she has the upside that she can attack during it and still use all of her abilities and stuff, which is absurdly strong. And because she's at full health, she also moves faster during it, which means you can just run it down with your team, get all the kills yourself, do everything yourself. The only downside for Mantis is her healing output is like the lowest of any support in the game. It is straight up the lowest healing output out there. However, the amount of damage you can do and the value of sleep and all that just offsets it completely. Also, the value of the Adam Warlock team up is crazy. Where basically Mantis with pretty much any other support, other than maybe literally Adam Warlock, because they particularly don't combo that well because then your heals are always on cooldown. But Mantis with like an Adam Warlock and then some type of third support, even if it's just Jeff, meaning that you don't need that much heals going around, it's just really strong, right? Triple support with a Mantis Adam Warlock duo is unlosable. You just do so much for so little, and there's no real counterplay to it. Speaking of no real counterplay, we have Mr. Fantastic, who I'm going to put in B tier. I don't know necessarily what makes this character strong. I don't understand how to play him myself. I don't really understand what my teammates and enemies are doing whenever they're playing him. All I know is a good Mr. Fantastic, which I only ever seen high elo. Any Mr. Fantastic I saw below Celestial 2 was awful, but as soon as I hit like Celestial 2 or 1, Mr. Fantastic became like the most broken character. I've never seen this character lose in high elo. His sustain is insane. He can help his tank stay up. He stays up forever. He does solid damage. His ult, if used well, can do some crazy stuff to kind of force a lot of different support ults and stuff like that. But his main thing is that he just never dies and does very solid damage output. He's like a third tank, but with way less of the drawbacks that most tanks have, being like the lack of damage. And lack of self-sustain. He's a very self-sustained heavy character. He sustains through a lot, does a lot of damage. He just kind of does everything. He's a very, very strong character in the right hands. I don't know how to explain why, though. That's why I'm putting him in B tier. Debatably, he could be S tier, but I've just never seen him win in low elo. I've only ever seen him win in high elo, but he dominates high elo at the moment. Next up, we have Moon Knight. I'd say C tier. I don't know. He does solid damage, especially with his onks, especially in low elo where people can't aim or don't shoot the onks. He does solid damage. But he's also very squishy and easy to kill on pretty much everything. I feel like anytime there's a Moon Knight on the enemy team, I can just insta-kill him like anywhere across the map on any character. That's not a good sign, but his damage output is solid. His ult is okay. And that's pretty much all there's to say about it. I mean, it's just solid damage, but nothing crazy compared to like Magic or Hawkeye or Fantastic or whatever. Speaking of crazy damage, we have Namor. Easy S tier. Without the Luna Snow team up, I'd say he's probably A tier. He's just the Torbjorn of this game. He has turrets, which in this case are squids that you can throw on walls, ceilings, whatever. They have a solid amount of health, do a solid amount of damage. He himself does a solid amount of damage. With the Luna Snow team up, you have permanent squids up all over the place, and the ice squid in particular is broken. Without the ice squid, though, he just has 2 squids, meaning there is a bit of time where he doesn't have any squids, but he still does very solid damage with his tridents. He also has the right-click trident, and even if there's no squids up, there's just an extra trident to throw for extra damage. He just does crazy, consistent, high damage, and with the Luna Snow team up, is straight up, like, broken, the amount of damage you can do, without even having to have good aim. He's often known as the counter to dive just because the squids automatically shoot things, so if there's a Spider-Man jump in your backline, the squids won't miss him and will do half of his health bar just for him engaging at all. Also, one of the most broken things about him is actually his left shift. It's a built-in immortality and movement tool all in one on a relatively low cooldown, which oftentimes if someone tries to like Magneto ult you, if someone tries to hit you with a pulse bomb, if Moon Knight tries to ult you, you just go up in your bubble and live any ult for free. Like, no counterplay, nothing they can do about it. They can't hook you out of it. You're just immortal for like 3 seconds and you float up, which oftentimes will make it so you take less damage on the way down. Plus, he has a little glide, which helps his mobility even further with that left shift. It's just kind of all crazy. He has a built-in immort, crazy damage output. His ultimate's also insane. Anytime he pops ult, anyone in the ult can't use movement abilities while they're in it. Plus, if he gets damage boosted in pretty much any way, it just one-shots, right? You combo with Groot, you can one-shot. You have a Luna Snow on damage boosted one-shots. You have Mantis giving you some type of damage boost. They might not one-shot, but it'll bring it so close that it'll basically one-shot people. It's just a strong ult, solid damage, solid counter dive, insane mobility. He just has everything. He does everything, very annoying to fight. He's one of the 2 characters I banned almost always on my way to Eternity, and the other one is actually Rocket, which I'll get into later, but I banned Rocket, Namor every single game, despite them Rocket not being the most broken. Next up, we have Penny Parker, D tier. Unless you are the rank 1 to 10 Penny who fully understands everything about this character, every interaction, knows how to play perfectly, you're just going to lose. I'll be completely honest with you. Unless you were the best Penny on planet Earth, I've never seen a Penny win. Ever. Unless... and oftentimes the people that are winning at the top, they're not solo key Penny. I mean, solo key Penny can win, though. I've seen it happen, especially in high elo, but getting too high elo on Penny seems like a chore. People will throw your games because you're on the character. People don't know how to play with the character. I don't know how to play with the character. You have to be really, really good to make it work, and most people just aren't. Next up, we have Psylocke. Crazy good flanker. Just very, very solid flanker potential. Very hard to deal with. If a lot of elos, even a high elo, people don't know how to deal with flankers. They're just not used to it. Right? Not many people really flank until you get to really, really high elo, and that's what gives Psylocke so much value. Nobody's looking for a flanker. You can just flank, kill their entire backline, kill all their DPS, and everything for free. Her ult makes her immortal and oftentimes gets 1 or 2 picks, and if it doesn't get 1 or 2 picks, it forces a portal, which is also crazy value, especially because she's immortal during it. It's just crazy. I mean, she does so much. She's area denial, flanking, crazy damage, everything like that. You can easily deadlift a lot of different games on Psylocke. The problem is you can't just deadlift as hard as Namor or Hela can. So that's the only reason she's A tier, is because these guys are just so much more broken that she's right under that S tier. If these characters were even a little bit worse, for example, Namor without the Luna Snow team up is just worse than Psylocke in my opinion. Psylocke does crazy stuff on flanks and can easily deadlift games. You oftentimes see Psylocke in games go 40-1 and literally just single-handedly be the reason that someone won. People don't know what to do about it. So this is just great. It's great free value. Speaking of free value, we have Rocket, who I'd say is honestly a B tier pick. Same as Cloak and Dagger, you can't play bad on Rocket. All you have to do on Rocket is throw down your respawn beacon in a place that it won't be broken, so that you get a free revive every fight. Use your damage amplifier just off cooldown so you can farm another one and that your teammates can combo with it. You can do stuff like one-shot with Venom. I think you can one-shot with Namor with it. A lot of different one-shots become possible in the same way that Luna Snow enables a lot of one-shots. As long as you're right-clicking and living on Rocket, you're just healing your whole team a little bit at a time, which is great. Helps you build ult, helps them live, and it's impossible to really mess up. As long as you're aiming in the general direction of your team, it'll bounce and hit them eventually. You also have crazy mobility and survivability. That's what makes him really broken. That's why I banned him in all my games too, is Rocket can dash twice, he can wall climb, and he can hover, and he's a tiny-ass hitbox. It's just impossible to kill a Rocket that doesn't want to die, especially because his right-clicks heal himself. He also does solid damage output. A lot of people sleep on the Rocket damage output. His gun does solid damage. He can straight up kill a flanking Psylocke 1v1 if you play him correctly. Against some of the best Psylocks, right? One of my one and only duo partner played a lot of Psylocke, and we found this really good Rocket on the enemy team one time, and he was literally just consistently losing the 1v1 because the Rocket would maneuver so perfectly, heal himself, be impossible to hit, impossible to kill, and do crazy damage output, and just straight up win the 1v1. It was actually ridiculous. People do sleep on the damage output, and also people especially sleep on the value of his team up with mainly Punisher. The infinite ammo Punisher is why I banned Rocket. Otherwise, I wouldn't care that much about an infinitely not dying Raccoon just healing people and throwing down damage amps. Damage amp is a very solid ult. It can oftentimes get 3 or 4 kills, which is very, very strong. People say it's awful. They're a lot of people complain they want another Invisible Woman ult to survive another 5 seconds, but oftentimes a Rocket ult can be better in just the way that it can just get you so many kills. But mainly solo queued on ladder, a lot of people don't have the coordination required to beat a Rocket Punisher duo, and that's why I started banning him, because he's very easy to play, Punisher's very easy to play. You play the two of them together with infinite ammo as the team up, and Punisher becomes a lobby admin, just instantly, overnight, by having a Rocket on his team. which is just strong. It's very strong in all elos. If you're like duo keyed with someone and you're both awful at the game, just play Rocket Punisher and you'll climb like instantly all the way to Celestial. Probably even past it, honestly, if people don't ban your characters. Um, Speaking of banning characters, I've never seen a Scarlet Witch ban. This has been consistently the worst character in all of Marvel Rivals. She's just a worse Jeff. Jeff does more damage than her. Jeff has more mobility than her. Jeff does more healing than her. Jeff has more self-sustain than her. And Jeff's ult is just a better version of her ult. It oftentimes will just get more kills than this. This is just like a low elo character where you can't aim at all, and you just want to be able to do something. But even then, I'd probably just play Cloak and Dagger to do the same thing. I'm glad this character's bad. If she was good, it'd be really annoying, because she's auto-aim and has zero skill or anything really involved with her. She's just really slow, easy to kill, does no damage, does the lowest damage output in the entire game, honestly. I think Rocket out-damages her. She just doesn't do anything. There's no reason to ever play Scarlet Witch when you could just be playing Jeff instead, or playing Cloak and Dagger instead. They're just better versions of her character. Speaking of better version of a character, Spider-Man is a better Black Panther, especially with that Venom team-up. With the Venom team-up, he can one-shot people if done correctly, which is very strong, obviously. He just flies in, one-shots, flies out. It's very good value. He's a very solid dive character, but unless you're hard dive and hard calming dive, he's so easy to kill on his own. He's very squishy, very light, very easy to kill. Doesn't have a lot of really crazy damage on his own. He requires the ability to go in with someone else and then either have that Venom one-shot combo, then he can go in alone, or just go in with the Venom and help him finish off all the kills, right? He's a dive character. He's like a better version of Black Panther. You can just easily, jive in, finish all the kills, dive out, and that's kind of the end of it. Very strong with Venom, but very beatable even with Venom. I mean, you just gotta shoot him a little bit and avoid his like instant one-shot combo, or just have an Adam Warlock press Soul Bond once and then it invalidates all the Spider-Man, including his ult, which is decently strong but nothing crazy. Speaking of decently strong and nothing crazy, that's Squirrel Girl. She's a solid C tier. She's just solid, consistent damage. She's like the Cloak and Dagger of the DPS role, where you don't have to be crazy good at the game to really do a lot with her. And especially with a Mantis, I think Mantis, when you damage boost a Squirrel Girl consistently, lets her two-shot. She has 2 stuns at all times, right? She can right-click once, then press E, then right-click again. They're pretty easy to hit. Oftentimes, I find myself stunning Star-Lords that are ulting out of the sky and getting free kills on them. Her projectile speed's fast enough that she can actually hit flyers pretty consistently, and she just does crazy amounts of damage pretty easily that are very hard to avoid if they're not, like, double shield. Oftentimes, if they're on Groot and they ban Punisher and they ban Wolverine, I mean, you just have to go Squirrel Girl. She can two-shot the walls, even without a damage boost, and just start just putting out crazy damage numbers. She's like the highest like, raw damage output character in the game. Her main problem is she's a hard time finishing kills, because without a damage boost of any kind, it takes 3 hits to kill someone, while oftentimes, by the time you fire a 3-shot, you've been killed 3 times by magic, for example. Right, so you have to play very far back, spam out, and if your team's doing well, you'll do well. If your team's not doing well, you'll still probably get some random picks here and there. But just not as quick to kill as characters like Hawkeye, who are just like a better version of Squirrel Girl. And her ultimate falls off pretty hard once you get to high ranks, right? When people just start realizing you can just kill the squirrels or like jump on high ground for a second, she stops getting big value from her ults and it just falls off a cliff. Unlike Star-Lord, who is probably the best DPS in the game right now, if you're not an aim god on Hela. If you're not an aim god on Hela, just play Star-Lord. His team with Adam Warlock is broken. Even without that, the character is absurdly strong. Does crazy damage, crazy mobility, has 3 built-in inwards with his dashes. If someone throws like a Magneto meatball at you, you can just dash. His ultimate, if there's no support ults up, gets a minimum of like 2 kills. Alright, oftentimes it gets like 5. Sometimes I've seen him get 2, occasionally gets 1, and then they pop a support ult. At bare minimum, he forces a support ult. At his best, it's oftentimes an entire team wipe, especially with like a Magneto bubbling you, or a Mantis damage boosting you or something like that. This character just shreds lobbies for free, and there's like not really any counterplay other than Hela. If you're a really good Hela, you just beat this guy every time. But if you're not a really good Hela, or if they should have Magneto to bubble him so that he just beats Hela anyway, he just does everything, and then he's a team up with Adam Warlock to get a free res every game too. His ult is the best DPS ult in the game. His base and neutral fight is some of the best neutral in the entire game. You can farm ults like crazy, especially if you Magneto bubble his little like death ball, if you know what I mean, when he flies around and automatically aims at people when flying past him. I mean, he just does everything and has no real counterplay. So, yeah, easily S tier. Easily, other than Hela, literally the best DPS in the game. It's not even close. Speaking of not even close, we got Storm, probably A tier. She just is a permanent damage booster, speed boost to her entire team, depending on what she's on. Most of the time, it's damage boost. If you're coming out of spawn, it's a permanent speed boost to your team, which is also super great. She does a very solid damage output herself, but her main kind of quirk is she just she gives her entire team a damage boost. In a circle around her, everyone near her gets a damage boost. The damage output that can do is ridiculous, and that's why she gets banned every game. It's because she's a flyer, which can be annoying for a lot of characters to fight, especially if you play, like, I don't know. I actually don't know what characters really hate fighting Storm. I feel like she's relatively easy to kill a lot of the time, but she just gives her team so much free damage and can get so many kills herself. It's ridiculous. Plus, her ult is really strong. It forces you to either pop a support ult or lose both your supports guaranteed every single fight. Unless you hard focus her and she has no teammates, right? If she's the only one there and she's 1v6 ulting, you can actually kill her out of her ult. But in any other scenario, you can just bubble her or whatever, or just like walk in as she ults, and there's kind of nothing they can do about it. Very strong ult, very strong character, very strong team play, just a very strong overall pick. Unlike Punisher, who I'd say is C tier, with Rocket Raccoon, he becomes the lobby admin. He does everything. He deadlifts entire teams. He literally plays 1v6 as long as he has a tank in front of him. He just wins by default. It's so easy to play. You don't even have to aim that well because you have infinite fucking ammo and infinite damage boost, and you get revived if you die, and you're in turret form. You just won't die, and nothing will happen to you, and you'll just kill everything if you have a Rocket Raccoon. If you don't have a Rocket Raccoon, this character's pretty useless. He's just a worse version of Bucky in every single way. He has very little mobility. He has way less health and sustain than Bucky, and honestly less damage without the infinite ammo. With the infinite ammo, his fire rate and everything goes up, and he's an AR and the shotgun just can do crazy damage and shred tanks and everything just for free. Without Rocket Raccoon, he does very little, but honestly still more than the people in D tier. Even without a Rocket Raccoon, I'd still rather have a just raw Punisher and stuff in D tier. Next up, we have the Thing, who I'd say is also an S tier tank. He's a very interesting case where he just hard counters a lot of things. Any dive of any kind or any flankers of any kind, Thing hard counters. He can just leap onto his supports and instantly dash and stop dashing to create an area that denies all mobility abilities. He also does very solid damage with his left clicks, and then a little bit less damage but higher sustain with his right clicks. Almost all of his abilities give him some type of shield health, right? His charge gives him like 200 shield health. Every time he right-clicks and punches, he gets a temporary 50 health. He is super tanky, does great damage, farms ults like crazy. His right-clicks can hit multiple enemies at quite a distance, which means he can just farm ults like every second fight, and constantly either kill a free support with his ult, or force the support ult by popping his ult. It's either a free support kill or a free support ult. It's a win-win. His E to land on people and give him rocks for 30% damage resistance is crazy for him and the person he leaps on. He also has the team up with Wolverine, where he has a really strong arm and can chuck Wolverine, then jump to Wolverine as a rollout, which is super strong. He's just really strong, really tanky. Very solid, consistent damage that hits through entire teams. It also beats double shield. If they're Magneto Doctor Strange, which is very common, he beats that. His only real big losing matchup are flyers, because he can't hit flyers at all. Long-range characters, because his personal mobility is quite low. So something like a Hela will dominate, or a Widow will dominate him. And then a Groot, because a Groot actually just kind of out-sustains him and out-damages him. But as long as there's no Groot in your way, if you maybe ban Groot or something, he beats everything, even Wolverine, because he's immune to knockback at all times, meaning he can't get pushed around by anything, ever. Not even just when he's charging. He can just be standing there, and Wolverine cannot lift him off the ground. It is crazy how much he can do to just deny dive. He denies so many different characters with his pin, with his lack of knockback, and then his ults are fat, his damage is fat, and he just has so much sustain, and the Invisible Woman team-up gives him even more sustain as if he needed it, which he doesn't. He does not need to function. As long as you are not fighting Groot or some long-range characters that are just poking you out from a distance because he has no range to him, or some flyers, at least flyers that aren't being taken care of, then he just wins, right? A lot of times you can just fight the other tanks and win. Even if they have flyers, if you have decent DPS, like you have a Hela, you have a Bucky or something, they'll deal with it, and you can just fight on the ground and kill everyone there and be immortal with your little rock damage mitigation, your shield health, your pins. I mean, his pins also do crazy damage. He farms ults like crazy and forces every single backline ult out of the game. And yeah, he also denies dive. He's a hard denial to dive. They have a good Spider-Man, they have a good Black Panther, whatever. You just slam the ground, and Black Panther can't dash through it. Spider-Man can't swing away. Thor can't get out. Nobody can do anything. Speaking of Thor, he's B tier. Thor, if played with the right comps and stuff, can just move people, right? His hammer charge can just charge tanks and push them wherever he wants them to be. But if he's like solo tanking, or if there's no shield tank, or you're getting a lot of damage coming your way, they got like a Rocket Punisher, then he just kind of dies. He has no sustain, right? He's very squishy as a tank, right? He has very limited mobility, very slow mobility, very slow character, and a melee character. So if you just kind of shoot him, he'll just kind of die, unless he has a Strange or someone to help him. Like a Strange, a Groot, anything like that could help him. He can maybe live. But without that, I mean, you can just farm him for free. He dies to Helas, Star-Lords, everything. Like, he just dies so quickly without the right kind of team around him that it's very hard to do a lot. But if he's not instantly getting farmed, I've seen Thors do so much, like control the flow of the game. They will just kidnap Doctor Strange, Groot, whoever they want to kidnap, pull him to their team, get a free pick there, go into his little like thunder throwing form, throw out some thunder, one shot is squishing the backline. He has crazy damage output for a tank. His damage output is a little insane, but he has no mobility and is very squishy and big to make up for it. Unlike Venom, who's the complete opposite of that. Very little damage on his own, very solid damage still, very much respectable damage, very much heavy on the sustain and mobility. His mobility is insane. He's got two mobility options that can bring him cross map. He can wall climb, he can slam, his right clicks are crazy, his ult is crazy. There are some one-shot combos out there for him now if you combo it with like Luna or Rocket or Mantis or whatever, where if you right click and then pop ult as the right click pops, you can straight up one-shot people through support ults, which is kind of crazy. It's very easy to just dive in, take all the enemy attention, make them all shoot at you, and then just get out for free and get healed back up, dive in, rinse and repeat repeatedly. Even without people completely following up on your stuff, you'll still get solid value and never really die if you're good enough with the character. You just watch why Andrew, I think even solo queue, that guy would be doing numbers, but especially if you're duo queued or if you have anyone else following up on your dives, if you're like a Spider-Man, a Black Panther, a Psylocke even, a Magic, anybody doing any type of damage after you dive the enemy team, you'll just get so many kills every time you dive in and then never die. It is so easy to get guaranteed value in the DP, not the DP, the Venom, that you'll just win a lot of games. He's very hard to kill, very guaranteed value, and very hard to stop. If you have any team around you at all, he's very, very hard to stop. Which is what Bucky does. I mean, Bucky he's just the hard carry character. He has an answer for everything. He's constant fire. Every ability he uses gives him not only a reload on his weapons, we can keep shooting, but he also gets shield health for some reason. So he actually has high sustain as well as a DPS for some reason. He'll have like a constant 300 health. Even when you're shooting him, as long as he's using his abilities, he just gets 50 shield here and there, and then just kills you. His hook is ridiculous. It's one of the very few abilities that can just get kills in the neutral fight for free. He can also hook multiple enemies for some reason, which is crazy. His dash is a very good finisher, and his ultimate, I mean, everyone's heard him go again and again and again and get like 8 kills off of one ult. It's fucking insane if left uncontested. In high elo though, a lot of the time, as soon as you hear him pop that first ult, everyone hard focuses him and he just dies, unlike Star-Lord, which is why Star-Lord ult is way better, because even if you know about it, even if you're ready for it, the only counter to it really is to pop a support ult or to have a cracked Hawkeye. Versus Bucky, where you can pretty easily just shoot him because he's right there. Speaking of, I don't know, broken, I guess, or broken abilities, we got Wolverine. I'd say he's an S tier solo queue pick. You could just kill any tank that isn't Thing for free. If they have a Thing, you should probably swap. He's like your hard counter. He's the hard Wolverine counter. Because Wolverine, his whole plan is find a tank, find a Doctor Strange, find a Groot, whatever, go behind him, leap, bring him into the team, and then your team just kills him. You can also do it to non-tanks, even if they have tanks and they're ready for it. You can just pull, I don't know, a Squirrel Girl, you can pull a Cloak and Dagger, you can pull anyone, right? If you just leap up and pull him, his ult also, whenever it doesn't bug out, is a pretty guaranteed set of 2 or 3 kills. He just leaps up, dashes, and does crazy, crazy damage, and they all die. Good mobility on him. He also has that passive where when he reaches 0 health, he gets bonus 300 health and just has a second health bar for free, which makes him very hard to kill. The reason you don't play him against the Thing is, first off, he can deny you from even leaping in the first place if he slams on you. Second off, if you try to pull the Thing away, you'll actually just stun the Thing, and then instead of pulling him from their team into your team, getting both healed yourself and getting the Thing, or sorry, getting whatever tank you pulled killed, or even not tank you if it's like a DPS, getting that DPS killed. Instead of that, you'll stun the Thing in his own team, he'll get healed up, and then you'll just die because you have no mobility options anymore, and you're just dead. He also has like a little damage reduction shout, but he can just do a lot, right? A Wolverine left unbanned, uncontested by a Thing just does a lot. Whenever they have like a Thing where they have a really annoying like Hela or something who's just really long range, you have a hard time approaching, that's pretty much the only time you need to swap. Otherwise, you can just run Wolverine to everything, and as long as your grab game is on point and you're grabbing people and bring him into your team for free picks, he can just carry solo games. He's not like an S tier character. If you're like duo queued, if you're competitive, like doing actual competitive outside of ladder, he actually falls off a cliff pretty quickly as soon as people are commenting about him. You can actually burst him out very quickly on like Bucky or Namor or whatever. But solo queue, I mean, he just shreds lobbies for free very easily, and there's a reason he's banned pretty much every game. He's just absurdly strong, especially if you play him with the Thing or with a Hulk or whatever. Just getting an extra leap on people is just ridiculous value. I mean, it's crazy. Especially with Thing. Thing Wolverine might be the most fun and broken duo on ladder. But yeah, that's my solo queue tier list. Everything outside of F tier is viable, and you can easily get wins with it. I would not play those 2 characters in F tier until they get changed or buffed or whatever in some way, which they eventually will, so this won't always be accurate forever. But for now, I believe this is just truly how hard you can carry on all these characters solo queue, and what characters you can really get the most value on if you learn them correctly. And yeah, that being said, hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my takes in the comments below. I'd be quite interested to hear what people have to say, but I actually think I kind of cooked here. I think this is pretty correct unless they change balance drastically. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.